It's Spoilerin time, my friends. This is the show where we talk about a classic TV episode, usually found on a fast service. And we've been making our way through Miami Vice. We are going to talk about the first part of the aired finale of Miami Vice. I say that very carefully because it was originally aired as two parts, and it was originally the finale, but not the last Miami Vice episode ever aired or meant to be the finale. That is Free Fall Part 1, Episode 17 of Season 5. I'm Tom Merritt. You're Brian Brushwood.
Heck yes. Tom, as we've discussed in other portions of this program, I've had a wee bit going on, and I managed to watch 90% of this episode. And I strongly suspect that I didn't miss much in the last 10%.
Where did you get to? How far did you get?
I got to the part where Tubbs was clearly falling for the nun who was secretly in the relationship with the drug
Felicia,
dealer guy. Um, okay.
where was Felicia last when you last saw her? The nun.
I assume I got far enough to assume that she's gonna get shot.
Oh, yeah. No, she gets shot and
Hey,
dies.
so
So
the
you didn't get to that part. So you didn't get back home. So you didn't get to see the rest of the cast except for Castillo show up in the safe house to blow it when a bunch of guys show up and capture Bourbon, aka McShane.
okay, we'll get to
That's what you missed. You
we
you you missed you missed the attack that kills Felicia. They
got it.
barely make it out. They get back. The the government guy is like, "Well, you screwed that up. You were supposed to miss the plane." And Crockett says, "I never trusted you. That's why we didn't take your plane. By the way, I'm not telling you where Bourbon is." And then you see him in the safe house. You see Gina. You see Trudy. They're getting off work. Crockett's taking over. Then a bunch of people show up. We don't know from whom, whether they're from the government or or Chakotay's people down in Contra
Chakotay,
Costa.
that's who I was supposed to recognize. The
Yeah,
whole time I'm like, I don't know this actor's name. Tom seemed excited.
Robert Beltran. No, I said it was. When I pitched you, I was like, if you want to start right now, in the first scene, you get to see Ian McShane be a Latin American dictator, and Chakotay is his assistant.
Well, and again, much like my story about Michael Clayton, it's like all I knew was trust Tom, it good, and I hit play, and I'm like, there was another person I was supposed to recognize, and I definitely did
You watched
not.
Voyager, though, right?
What's that? Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
watch,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like the first 2 or 3 seasons, I think.
And
Yeah.
he's basically playing the same character, which is a trusted member of the military who turns against the establishment for his own idealistic reasons. Like, oh, it's
A
like
very
basically
committed
Chakotay.
believer.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And I'm glad you couched it that way because I understand it. So there's a book that I just read called "Nobody Wants to Read Your S Word," and you know what the S word is. And he talks about how, like you know what? Actually, I think I read that book, and he referenced his previous book, "The Art of War." And in the Art of War, he says he basically gives a bunch of like thou shalt nots, and one of them was you. He says the most. Uh, if you have children in the car right now, hide their ears. He says that one of the best lessons he got in storytelling was from somebody who hired him to punch up a script for a skin flick, basically a pornography film. And he said, here's the problem with all of these skin flicks is they get to the part people want, the intimacy, the erotic part, and they stop everything. He's like, I want you to rewrite this script so that every single time that happens, it advances the story. And it blew his mind because he thought of every single action movie where there's cars have to race now or whatever, or a battle scene or whatever. And it's like, if you're not advancing the story, you're doing it wrong. I felt a lot of Miami Vice pausing the story to show me a bunch of shoot 'em ups in this
Oh
episode.
yeah, no, that was a long way of saying there were too many action scenes, right? Like,
Oh,
yeah.
no. But again, like action scenes can be good
That
because they can advance the plot,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Good writing advice is that everything you write should advance the story, and that didn't happen. That definitely did not happen here.
It did not happen for half of the episode, Tom.
Also, Vice Cops, perfect for intelligence work. Makes perfect sense, right?
Yes.
You bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I did.
Did you
Like,
really? Okay. That
well,
did not work for me. I
it,
was like, no, that's a specialized situation. And yes, on paper, they know the drug trade, and they've done cover work, but they've never done cover work outside of the country. That's a whole different specialized situation that you need training for. And not that Crockett and Tubbs couldn't get that training and probably knock it down real fast, but you don't just send them in cold to another country and they get exposed right away, which later on made me think, or maybe that was the point,
well,
is that these guys were sacrificial lambs, so it didn't really matter that they didn't have the training.
the latter part, I think you're right on, and I really hadn't thought about it because I did buy in on, like, if you need to move fast on a collapsing situation, what you need is a couple of characters who are pretty good at, doing the acting part, but most importantly, they have a paper trail, like they have a reputation, and that's the way I read it. But let's go back to the beginning. It's all about Ian McShane.
Yes, finally. Yes, Ian McShane as a Latin American dictator. And
Like,
frankly, he's not bad. Like,
no,
that's kind of amazing.
there's only one word, and it starts with C, that I kept expecting him to shout at various moments, regardless of his faux South American accent.
Yeah, he didn't do that. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I sort of forgot he was Ian McShane by the end of this.
I never forgot. It's in fact I did forget, and then I heard him as a Swearingen, and I'm like, what? And then he was like, and then he was like, all of these amigos, and I'm like, what?
Amigos. The action not being motivated, or actually the action was motivated. It just didn't, as you say, it just didn't advance the plot in a lot of places. Made me think that somebody just really wanted to make a war film, so they shoved it into this episode of Miami Vice. But then we also had a telenovela in the middle where the general's daughter comes in and clumsily knocks his gun off the chair, and he immediately assumes she's trying to kill him. And then she immediately admits, yes, I was going to try to kill you because here's the secret I know that I've now blown by telling you and lost my advantage. It was very soap opera.
Man, if there's one way to surprise me, it's not by a character that doing something unexpected. It's by a character doing something unexpected and then another character pointing and saying, "That's so unexpected. What else might you have?" And it turns out there's something more unexpected.
Okay, I have a few notes here.
Okay.
I have a few notes here. Why were they watching big band movies?
Because that's what they had the licenses to.
Well, that's the real reason.
Yes,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
Also, why were they constantly driving around in what was clearly Miami?
Yes. Well, yes, of course. And I get that. But like, even if that's what you have the license to, like everybody's coming over for this big party. Okay, everyone sit down and watch these public domain films. Like, yeah.
So this is actually part of the enigma that I adore so much about Miami Vice, is that in production they spare no expense, which is why it always made me so confused. Why? Because film is expensive. That was always like the very last thing that they seem to consider, which is why you get these hilarious bloopers. Which, by the way, this episode also, Switek, we finally get to get a little taste of him and his gambling addiction.
Well, I mean, a little taste, barely anything. We get one scene totally unconnected to the rest of the episode in any possible way where he calls his bookie. When they did that, I thought, oh, finally, I'm sure it's been in other episodes we haven't watched. We're going to get some Switek stuff.
That's on us that we've been skipping all of that stuff.
No, it's not. It's not.
What?
Because it's one scene. Even if it was carrying on a thread that we had missed, it should have more than one scene. It shouldn't just be one scene unconnected. It should connect in some way. Like, that was egregious to be like, and we'll put in a Switek scene and have no relation to the rest of the episode.
Okay, we'll put a pin in that one, because
if it's a B plot, it should get 2 or 3 scenes. If it's just like bringing the story forward, it should be Switek getting in trouble, like, hey, Crockett needs you for the Costa Mesa thing. And, oh, sorry, I'll get off the phone. Nothing. There was nothing like that. It was entire. You could take that out and it would have zero effect on the rest of the show.
Would you say it's the equivalent of having a scene that doesn't advance the general story?
Indeed. Indeed, I might. Yeah. Seems to be a theme to this episode.
Well, and
I guess we should say this was meant to be seen as one episode, and we haven't watched part 2. So I do hold out the possibility that maybe the Switek thing will pay off in part 2.
But this is the end of all of it?
This was the last episode aired on NBC.
Right. That's right. So
there were 3 more episodes, and we're only going to watch one of them. That they did not air on NBC, partly because they felt they were too graphic, and those aired on USA Network later.
Okay. The ending, I'm going to give myself a pass that I ran out of time to see the last like 10 minutes or whatever. It does not sound like anything other than a cliffhanger happened. Was there anything that we particularly loved about literally anything about this episode in the first 50 minutes?
Yeah. Ian McShane playing a Latin American dictator.
But he didn't.
Great. It was worth the price of admission right there. Right. Don't you think?
No. Number 1, no iambic pentameter, and never once did he say the word amigo.
That is Free Fall Part 1. Special guest stars Ian McShane and Robert Beltran, star of Star Trek Voyager. They will both be in Part 2, which we will watch and finish up for next week. And then the week after that, I know we keep pushing this down the road, we will watch episode 20 of season 5 called Too Much Too Late, starring CCH Pounder and Pam Grier, which never aired on NBC because of graphic content and aired on USA 6 months after the finale in January 1990. That's coming in 2 weeks. Next week, part 2 of Free Fall. Thanks everybody for supporting us. You get Spoilerin Time early if you are a patron. You also get the After Talk, which has other spoilery talks. If you miss our other spoilery talks, they're there. You can become a patron for as little as 99 cents plus 1 cent. $1 is the minimum at patreon.com/Cordkillers. We will spoil you again next time.
See? This guy.